Have you ever been alone at night, hearing a sound that doesn't belong? Like something scratching where it shouldn't? Or seen a shape move? Too wrong to be alive, but alive anyway. Maybe you've felt the air shift, like it's hiding a secret that knows your name. If that's ever frozen you in place, this story will claw into you. Stay close, because what I'm about to tell you might make you lock every door tonight.
Hello, night owls. I am Dusky Nights, and I bring you real-life horror stories that will help you sleep, or maybe keep you awake. But before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Also, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
For 13 years, I've been obsessed with a house I've never visited in person, but that I've checked on countless times, using the one tool that connects us all to places we've never been: Google Maps. At first, it was nothing more than curiosity. A random house in a small, quiet village. But as the years passed, I found myself coming back to it, almost as though something invisible, something terrifying, was drawing me back. You see, I can't tell you exactly where this house is located. I won't. But what I will tell you is that if you search for it, if you dare to find it, you might wish you hadn't. You might wish you'd left it as a mystery, because some things are better left unseen. It all began in 2012, when I was just a teenager, wasting time in front of my computer. It was a typical afternoon, and I found myself aimlessly scrolling through Google Maps. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but then something caught my eye. I zoomed in on a small village in the UK, tucked away in the countryside, sparsely populated and seemingly unremarkable. But this one house, this one garden, something about it felt different. The house itself was a detached, red-bricked building surrounded by acres of farmland. But it wasn't the house that stopped me. It was the garden. There, stretching across the lawn, was a long, T-shaped shadow. At first, I thought it was simply an optical illusion, a trick of the light, maybe even a scarecrow, standing tall in the garden. But no, this wasn't like any scarecrow I had ever seen. It was too large, too strangely shaped. I remember thinking, why is the shadow so long? After all, satellite images are generally captured when the sun is high in the sky, meaning shadows should be short. And yet, this shadow, it didn't fit. I stared at the image, trying to make sense of it. But my teenage mind quickly moved on. I didn't think much more about it, but for reasons I can't explain, the image stayed with me. In the back of my mind, it lingered like a seed waiting to sprout. Fast forward 4 years to 2016. I was hanging out with my friend Oliver when the topic of strange internet mysteries came up. You know, those bizarre, unsolved phenomena that we all end up reading about in the darkest corners of the internet. Well, I decided to share my little mystery with him. I pulled up Google Maps and zoomed in on the house, and there it was. The same house, the same strange garden. But this time, something was different. There were two T-shaped shadows. The original shadow was still there, long and ominous. But now, there was a second one, smaller, but still distinct. It looked off, too off. I showed Oliver the image, and his brow furrowed. "What is that? Why would someone need two scarecrows?" he asked, his voice filled with skepticism. I couldn't answer. A part of me wanted to dismiss it as nothing more than a trick of the light, but another part of me couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The shadows weren't just shadows. They were a clue to something sinister, something dark, but neither of us could explain it. At the time, I chalked it up to coincidence and tried to forget about it. But by 2019, I found myself back at that house again. Oliver had brought it up. We were sitting together, reminiscing about old mysteries, and somehow the topic of the house came up once again. Without thinking, I pulled up the satellite image. The house, the garden, and those damn shadows. And then, something that made my stomach turn. The second shadow, which had once been half the size of the first, was now just as long. The garden had changed, but the shadows, they were growing, slowly, malevolently. It was as if whatever was casting them was growing too. I couldn't explain it, but the feeling that had gnawed at me for years was now stronger than ever. Something was wrong. Something had changed. Oliver noticed it too. "Look at that," he said quietly, his voice trembling ever so slightly. "The baby scarecrow is all grown up." I didn't respond. Instead, I closed my laptop, but the unease lingered. I felt like I was on the edge of something I couldn't quite grasp. Something dark. Something dangerous. That's when Oliver made a suggestion that I will never forget. "Let's go," he said. "Let's drive to that house." For a moment, I didn't respond. My blood ran cold. "What do you mean, let's go?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Oliver was insistent. "We've been talking about this for years. Don't you want to know what's really going on there? We can't just leave it as some stupid mystery. We need to know." I didn't want to go. I didn't want to see that house, those shadows, up close. But I also knew that Oliver wasn't going to let this go. And so, before I could protest any further, I found myself in his car, heading towards that cursed house. Weeks passed. No sign of Oliver. No trace of what we had seen. No evidence of the crime. Just empty words and empty promises. As the years went by, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something much darker at play here. That something or someone was watching. I never went back to the house, but I couldn't forget it. The world had bigger problems. The police had bigger priorities. But I was still left with the memory of those two people, those two innocent souls, tied to those crosses, marked with words that I couldn't forget. And then, in 2021, the letters started coming, the ones that made my blood run cold. I watched too. Nobody will ever find them. Don't come back. You'll come forth. I don't know if it's a warning or a threat, but the truth is, I'm too afraid to find out. Too afraid that one day I might become the fourth shadow in that garden. Ever walk through a place so quiet it feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for you to slip? Or seen something missing, like a door that should be there, and felt the air turn cold with secrets? Maybe you've heard a cry in the night, faint but desperate, like something lost is begging to be found. If that's ever made your heart race, these stories will pull you in deep. Listen close, because what I'm about to tell you might make you check every entrance twice tonight. I don't remember much from when I was a kid, just flashes of a small village south of Gdańsk, Poland, where I grew up with my parents and two sisters. We'd wander the streets during the Giadi Harvest Festival, knocking on neighbors' doors, begging for sweets they'd overbought, our giggles echoing as they teased us. Those rascal Novak kids. Those memories glow warm, but they're sharp too, because life turned cold after that. My parents split when I was 9. Mom took us to Poznan to be near her family, while Dad, Lech, stayed behind, working himself to the bone to send us money. He wanted us to have everything, a good life, even if he couldn't share it. But the visits dwindled. First Easter, then birthdays, then our Giadi tradition, until he faded into silence. By the time I was a teenager, he'd stopped sending money, stopped calling, and Mom remarried her new husband, filling the house with his loud laugh and expensive cigars. My sisters moved on, Enya to Prague, Zofia to Berlin, and Mom bought a fancy lakeside villa up north, always chasing her next getaway. I stayed in Poznan, scraping by with a sociology degree and a dead-end job at a social insurance office, drowning in paperwork and complaints. It wasn't much, but it was mine, until a letter arrived when I was 25, changing everything. Dad was dead, had been for years, killed in a tractor accident, his estate forgotten in some dusty file. My sisters got his cash and car. I got his house in that village, Wiersbe, a place I hadn't seen since I was a child, now calling me back to its doorless town. The drive to Wiersbe was long, the roads crumbling into narrow lanes, swallowed by wheat fields, the horizon flat and endless under a gray November sky. The village sits small, maybe 200 souls, mostly farmers, with a church and a general store as its only pulse. I nearly missed the turn. There's no sign, just the church's steeple poking through the haze, a landmark I vaguely recalled. I pulled into the church lot, the gravel crunching under my tires, and stepped out, the air sharp with frost and hay. It felt smaller than my memories, the stone walls weathered, but the smell, earth and old wood, hit me like a wave whispering, "You're home." A voice broke through, "Welcome, sorry for the mess." I turned to see a young priest, maybe 30, with neat hair and wire glasses, his black cassock flapping in the wind. "Father Wojtek," he said, offering a hand. "New here, or just passing by?" I hesitated, then told him, "I'm Marek Novak, Lech's son. Grew up here." His smile faltered, just a flicker, before he nodded. "Been gone a while then. I took over from Father Kroll last spring. He passed at 99. I laughed, surprised, but the ease faded as he showed me around. The church felt off, exposed, no doors, just open arches where they should have been, letting the wind carry dirt inside. "Local custom," Wojtek sighed. "They say doors trap things that shouldn't stay. I put some up, but they're gone by morning." I frowned, not remembering that from my childhood, but I let it go, following him to Dad's grave. A cracked stone, tipped over, no flowers, just mud. It looked hated, and a chill settled in my gut, the haunted absence of something I couldn't name. Driving through Viersby, the village unraveled like a nightmare. Every house stood open, no doors, not one. Their frames empty, showing kitchens, bedrooms, lives laid bare. Some had curtains flapping, others insect nets, a few bricked up where entrances once were, forcing windows to double as doors with welcome mats beneath. I slowed my car, staring into a living room where a woman stirred a pot, her eyes meeting mine before looking away. It wasn't cleaning or quirks. This was deliberate. A whole town stripped of barriers. My childhood home was worse. I pulled into the overgrown drive, my chest tight, and found a ruin. Windows shattered, walls scorched from a backyard fire, the kitchen half collapsed. Spray paint screamed, "Diabo, devil," across the siding, and the swing set I'd played on was a twisted skeleton, chains cut, tires slashed nearby like a failed bonfire. Inside, rats skittered over broken glass, the stench of mold choking the air. No doors here either, not even on closets or bathrooms, just gaping holes. I stepped out, dazed, and saw 3 men by my car, their faces hard. "You the bank?" one grunted. "No, I'm Marek, Lech's son," I said. The oldest sneered, "Here to burn like him." Another nodded at the graffiti, laughing low, and they walked off, spitting on the ground. I stood there, the cursed legacy of my father sinking in, a weight I hadn't asked for. Sleep in that house? no chance. It was a wreck, unsafe, exposed. I climbed back into my car, reclined the seat, and wrapped myself in a coat, the sunset bleeding red over fields that hadn't changed. Their beauty mocking the ruin around me. I woke around 2 a.m. No reason, just a jolt, my breath fogging the car windows. The village was dark, the fields alive with crickets and wind, but something else cut through. A low wail, deep and mournful, like grief given voice. I sat up, straining to hear past the night's hum, and there it was again, distant but clear, coming from the east. I couldn't sleep after that, the sound looping in my head. So I walked Wearsby's streets the next day, feeling eyes on me. Farmers, shopkeepers, their glances cold, whispering, "Novak." Like a curse, kids didn't care, darting past with sticks, but adults crossed the road to avoid me. At the village's edge, I found a brick wall, long and low, stretching along a ditch. Doors, hundreds, were jammed into it, handles facing out, sealed tight. Their wood, weathered but unyielding. I touched one, its knob cold, locked forever, and wondered where ours was, the one from my home. 2 teens lounged nearby, eyeing me, unafraid. "Your dad's the devil guy, huh?" one said, smirking, his friend chewing a straw. I nodded, wary, but they didn't flinch. "Buy us some vodka and we'll talk," the other offered. I agreed, drinks for truth, and we drove to a shop 10 miles out, their chatter filling the silence. They called it Wandrojek, the wanderer, a thing that came years ago, knocking on doors, searching. "Your dad let it in," the first said, cracking a bottle open. "Opened a door at the old mill, and it stepped through." I frowned, picturing the mill's ruins, a husk I'd played near as a kid. "It's blind," the other added. "Knocks everywhere, looking for its door back, wherever it's from. Open one, and it takes you." The unseen wanderer had changed Wearsby, they said. Doors vanished to stop its knocks, the wall built to trap it, but it still roamed, and Dad had paid first. Back in Wearsby, dusk settling, the teens pointed to the wall, saying Wandrovieks came at night, wailing, testing handles. I didn't believe them, not fully, but the grave, the house, the hate in every stare pushed me to see it myself. I parked near the church, its open arches glowing with candlelight, and tried to nap in my car, my back aching from another night on the seat. Guilt gnawed at me. Dad wasn't evil, just broken, working to keep us fed, not some devil summoner. But what if he'd opened something, even by mistake? I woke past 2 a.m., that wail louder now, sharp against the quiet, pulling me out. I walked, the village black, except for moonlight, my boots soft on dirt paths I knew by heart. The brick wall loomed ahead, its doors like teeth in the dark, and there it was, a figure, tall, cloaked in ragged cloth, yanking a handle, smacking the wood. Pull, thump, thump, pull, thump, thump. screaming between tries, a sound that tore at my chest. I stepped closer, thinking it was a man, lost, grieving, but a flashlight flickered from a house nearby. 2 kids shaking their heads. No, don't. Their phones filming. Then a crack. Wondrowiec ripped a door free, splintering it with one hand, bricks flying like paper. Its scream turned feral, clawing at the wall, and I saw it clear. Arms too long, one sprouting wrong from its back, moving like it didn't know its own shape. Houses went dark, the kids vanished, and I ran, its rage echoing across Weirdsby, the eerie silence shattered by something that didn't belong. Dawn broke cold, and I drove past the church, stopping when I saw a truck unloading doors, new ones, heavy oak for its arches. Father Wojtek waved me over, beaming. You inspired me, Marek. This place needs dignity. Our Lady's house shouldn't stand open. I shook my head, voice low. Bad idea, Father. I saw it last night. Wondrowiec. He laughed, patting my arm. Faith protects us. If God's door can't hold, what can? I stayed, trading work for a shower and hot soup, too tired to argue. Townsfolk gathered, some cursing Wojtek, throwing stones at the doors, others nodding, drawn to his defiance. By afternoon, it felt like Giatti again. Grilled kielbasa, shared wine, kids stealing sips. But the mood shifted as Wojtek preached. A door is a line, sin outside, grace within. We can't live afraid. People clapped, some stayed, bringing blankets, daring Wondrowiec to come. Night fell, the church packed, candles flickering, and past midnight it did. Thump, thump, the doors shaking. Wojtek shouting, no evil enters here. But the wood groaned and panic spread, people shoving for the side exit. I hid by the pews, watching Wondrowiec burst through, not human. Skin gray, eyes sunken, a jaw unhinging wide. It grabbed Wojtek, lifting him like a doll. His prayers useless as it bit down, blood spraying, his body crumpling. I crawled, heart pounding, and it loomed over me, its breath hot, studying me, then stopped, squealing, confused, and left, wailing softer, lost again. The unseen wanderer spared me, but why? I fled at sunrise back to Dad's house, tearing it apart. Drawers, shelves, the charred kitchen, needing answers. Under the sink, my fist broke a panel, revealing a box, photos of us, my sisters, Dad's old tractor, then notes. It's not angry, it's scared, scrawled beside a Milderore's sketch. It hunts at night, leaves rabbits by the shed. The last read, it sleeps inside now, calms its cries. Dad hadn't summoned evil. He'd pitied it, fed it, let it in, thinking he could help. Maybe it turned. Maybe he misjudged. But his death, tangled in that swing set, wasn't an accident. I drove to the cemetery, Wendrovik's wail faint now, and found his grave. I dug shallow dirt giving way, and saw it. The coffin lid was our front door, nailed shut. Wendrovik appeared silent and clawed it open, lifting Dad's bones, whispering, "Oishik, Father," in a voice like wind. It carried him off, past houses into the fields, and Weirdsby fell quiet. I sold the house, kept the photos, and left the cursed legacy fading but not gone. Ever find something in your house that shouldn't be there, like a note from someone you've never met, calling you family? Or felt a chill when the world goes quiet, like it's waiting for something to step through? Maybe you've seen your own reflection hesitate, just a second too long. If that's ever stopped your heart, this story will grip you tight. Stay close, because what I'm about to tell you might make you question who's really writing your life. It started on a rainy Tuesday in our small Portland, Oregon duplex, when I checked the mailbox and found a letter that didn't belong. No stamp, no address, just Lena and Noah, scrawled in a kid's shaky handwriting. Inside, on lined paper torn from a notebook, it read, "Hi, Mom and Dad. I'm your son. You don't know me yet, but I'm writing from tomorrow. Thanks for everything you're doing. I'll meet you soon. Love, me." I showed Lena, expecting her to roll her eyes. She's a nurse, practical to a fault, but she smiled, pinning it to the fridge. "Some kids prank," I said, laughing. We'd been married 3 years, no kids, not planning any after my surgery 2 years back. Portland's full of quirky neighbors. We figured it was their idea of fun. But a week later, another letter appeared. Not in the mailbox, but on our dining table, doors locked. No sign anyone had been inside. "Hey, Lena, your dizzy spells are from the tap water. Bad pipes. Switch to bottles. Noah, take a jacket Friday. It'll pour. Love you both. Me." Lena had been fighting vertigo for weeks, her doctor blaming long shifts. She stopped using the sink, and by Thursday, she was steady again. Friday's forecast said clear, but a storm hit hard, soaking everyone at my bookstore job, except me, dry in my coat. We sat that night, staring at the note, the fridge letter flapping under its magnet. These weren't pranks. They knew us, helped us, loved us. The mysterious letters felt alive, and we didn't know whether to be grateful or afraid. The letters kept coming, always when we weren't looking, tucked in a coat pocket, taped to the bathroom mirror, once folded inside the toaster, still warm. Each one was right, every time. One said, "Skip the concert Saturday. It's not safe." We canceled, and the news reported a gas leak at the venue. 2 hospitalizations, no deaths, but close. Another read, "Thanks for listening. That would have hurt us." Lena started a shoebox for them, handling each note like it was glass. her voice soft when she read them. They got personal, pulling secrets we'd buried deep. Lena, remember the locket you hid in the park at 14? It's still there, under the oak. I saw it. She cried hard. She'd never told anyone about that locket, stolen from her mom, buried in shame. Noah, the poem you burned after Dad died. He felt it, even if you didn't send it. My hands shook. I'd burned that page at 19, alone, no witnesses. The letters knew things we'd locked away, and they were kind, too kind, like a voice that wanted us close, but then came the warning, sharp and cold. Don't talk to Uncle Ray anymore. He doubts me. He'll break us. Ray called that week, worried, saying our house felt heavy when he visited, urging us to see a counselor. We ignored the note at first, but after Ray left, a new one appeared under our pillow. He's too close to the truth. Be careful. Days later, Ray's bike skidded on a wet road. He's alive, but his legs shattered, and we haven't answered his calls since. The haunted warnings were protecting something, and we were starting to obey without question. When Lena's pregnancy test came back positive, we didn't blink. My vasectomy, her birth control, it didn't matter. The letters had prepared us, made it feel right, like fate. We stood in the kitchen, hands clasped, as a note materialized on the counter. I'm almost here, thank you for letting me in. Lena's pregnancy moved fast. By week 10, her belly looked ready to burst. But she glowed, untouched by fatigue, her eyes bright, like they saw beyond me. The letters grew urgent. Don't let the neighbor with the gray hat near the house. He's watching. We spotted him daily, walking his terrier, staring too long. The doctor's scan will show too much. Cancel it. Lena skipped her ultrasound. No questions asked. Don't stare in the mirror after dusk. We tried, but soon our reflections lagged. One night Lena smiled when she didn't, and I stopped shaving in there. The house changed with her. Lights dimmed without reason, the air warm and thick, like it was breathing. Lena barely slept, humming in a tongue I couldn't place. Her belly pulsing softly, not kicks, but shifts, like something was stretching inside. The letters praised us. You're perfect. Keep me safe. Nobody else matters. But they named others to fear. Mrs. Carver next door, who'd asked about Lena's due date, her eyes too curious. A note said, Carver knows I'm different. She'll stop me. You know what to do. Lena begged me to act, her voice desperate, and I went to talk, not to hurt, just talk. Carver slipped on her porch steps that night, her hip broken. We found a letter in our mailbox. She's gone now. Thank you. I didn't ask Lena if she'd been outside, but her shoes were wet, and the unknown child felt closer, heavier, watching us both. Labor came fast under a sky gone wrong, black, not dark, like ink had swallowed the stars, no moon, no clouds, just a void pressing down. The power cut out at 11:11 p.m., every bulb dead. My phone blank despite its charge. Clocks froze, their hands stuck. And outside the world vanished. No streetlights, no cars, just that suffocating black wall. Lena's scream broke the silence, not pain, but something deeper, like she was unraveling. Her voice didn't carry, it sank, trapped in the room, and her eyes rolled back, her mouth spilling whispers that weren't hers. Layered, sharp, forming words I couldn't catch. Her belly surged, the skin rippling, not like a baby, but like something folding itself into shape. The walls glowed red, faint, like they hid a heartbeat, and the floor thrummed, matching Lena's slow, ragged breaths. I stood frozen, sweat stinging my eyes, as she convulsed once, twice, then stopped, her gaze snapping to mine, calm, too calm. "He's here," she said, smiling, and reached down, pulling him out. No blood, no struggle, just silence. He wasn't a baby, not really. Arms too thin, eyes too wide, skin like glass, catching light that wasn't there. He looked at me, his mouth curling, and I smiled back, my chest tight with awe and dread. We laid him on a blanket and he stared unblinking, his unseen arrival filling the house with a weight we couldn't name. He didn't cry, didn't sleep, just watched us, his eyes tracking every move like he was learning us inside out. Lena whispered, "He sees everything." And she was right. He didn't blink, didn't rest, just held us in that gaze, proud, like we'd passed some test. The letters stopped, but the house kept changing. Lena stopped eating, nibbled bread, sipped water, but said she didn't need more. Her energy endless despite sleepless nights. "He holds my dreams now," she told me, her voice distant, like she was half gone. I went back to the bookstore, but customers stared. My boss pulled me aside, said I looked hollow, my skin gray, my hands shaking. At home, I caught my reflection. Eyes sunken, cheeks sharp, and it moved wrong, turning when I didn't. Weeks later, a note appeared, not handwritten but typed, cold, tucked under his blanket. Phase 1 done, conditioning complete. No more guidance needed. Prepare for integration. We didn't understand, but then the dreams hit. Not ours, others. My sister in Seattle called, sobbing, saying she saw us in a windowless house, rocking a child with no face, singing in a tongue that burned her ears. Friends texted, strangers emailed. "I saw you. I saw him. He spoke to me." He had a name now, one he spoke himself. Vile. A single syllable that cracked our TV screen, set off car alarms down the block. Lena knelt, whispering, "I hear you," her eyes glowing soft like his. The house felt alive, walls humming lights useless, everything bathed in a faint pulse, like we lived inside something breathing. The wrong reality was here, and we were its center. Portland changed too. Rain fell black, slow, sticking to windows like tar, pooling in streets that went empty. No delivery trucks, no joggers, just silence. Neighbors' houses dimmed, some crumbling overnight, roofs caving like burnt paper, others standing but wrong, their windows showing shapes that didn't move right. We stayed because Vale wanted us to. Lena rearranged rooms, stacking chairs, clearing space for them, her hands steady as she hummed that static song. "They're coming," she said, folding towels, her belly flat now, but marked with a spiral scar, red and raw. I have found drawings, scratches on walls, first simple loops, then jagged shapes, angles that hurt to look at, carved in something sticky, not ink. One morning, my arm itched, a spiral etched in my skin, not bleeding, but there, like it belonged. Across the street, I saw Mr. Tate, our mailman, kneel in his yard, slicing his chest with a broken bottle, grinning as he bled. I ran to him, but he was gone, a word scrawled on his jacket in thick black: open. The sky stayed black, heavier now, and one night it split, not to stars, but an eye, vast, wet, blinking slow, watching us, watching Val. Houses emptied, but figures emerged, neighbors, strangers, swaying, chanting sounds that weren't words, their eyes locked upward. Lena joined them, barefoot on the lawn, Vile in her arms, his smile wide, bending the air around him. The haunted warnings had built this, and we'd followed every one. 3 nights ago, Lena stopped being Lena. She stood in the hall, tracing her spiral, whispering it moved when she slept. "I'm outside myself now," she said, calm, like she'd let go. I felt it too. My thoughts weren't all mine, my hands heavy, like they answered to him. Last night, no letter came, but a voice filled my head, clear, warm, his. You were my door, my spark. The world bends to me now, not you. Sleep and let it turn. I tried to fight, to shout, but my voice was gone, my legs rooted. Lena faced me, her mouth opening, and Vale spoke through her. "We're already here." The ground shook, the eye blinked, and across Portland, figures knelt, hundreds, thousands, chanting his name. Our duplex was a maze now. Doors led to more rooms, kitchens, looping, nurseries endless, each holding a glow that wasn't ours. Vael grew heavier, not bigger, his eyes shifting like stars I couldn't hold. He called me by a name I'd never told, my first before adoption, buried in files no one knew. "I chose you," he said, and the walls hummed louder, cracking like they'd burst. "If you found mysterious letters, from an unknown child, felt haunted warnings, shape your life, or seen a wrong reality in an unseen arrival, send your story to voidwhispers@gmail.com. I post new tales every Wednesday and Sunday. Subscribe if you're still out there. There's a link to Chip in a Buck. Keeps me chasing these horrors if I'm still me. Don't answer strange notes. Don't smile back. Some doors don't close once they're open. I work nights at a vet clinic in Blackthorn, a speck of a town tucked into the hills of southern Slovakia, where farms outnumber people and the dark feels heavier than it should. Last spring, some Dutch hikers rolled in with a wolf pup, thinking it was a stray dog, half dead from a poacher's dart. They got it to our parking lot before it woke up, tore their rental car to shreds, and bolted into the woods. Animal control laughed it off. Our 6 cops barely patrol Main Street, let alone chase wolves. I've been a vet tech for 12 years, and that was the wildest call I ever made. Joking with Officer Marek over beers later. But tonight's different. Tonight, I'll call again, and nobody's laughing. The clinic's quiet most nights. Just me, a flickering bulb, and the hum of the fridge holding vaccines. Farmers here know their herds. They don't drag sick cows down twisty roads after dusk. I handle charts, mop floors, check on overnight animals. Tonight, just a fat hog named Boris, recovering from a leg abscess, snoring under sedatives. A storm rolled in around 10 p.m., rain hammering the roof, thunder shaking the valley. I figured I'd coast through, maybe nap at the desk. Then the buzzer screamed, ripping me awake, and everything went wrong. A kid stood outside, soaked, red hair plastered to his face, clutching a dented fruit crate. His bike tipped against the door. He shoved the crate at me, voice cracking. "It's good, okay? Keep it safe. They're coming for it. Don't let them take it." Before I could blink, he pedaled into the rain, gone, leaving me with a night shift terror I couldn't shake. I was groggy, the kid's panic blurring in my head as I hauled the crate into its weight, heavier than it looked. A wet, rasping sound came from within, like lungs struggling through mud. I set it on the exam table, expecting a hit-by-car cat or a mangy dog, Blackthorn's usual strays. I popped the lid, and my scream woke Boris, his piggy eyes blinking before he sank back into a drugged haze. What lay in the crate wasn't an animal, not one I'd studied, not one that belonged. It was cat-sized, maybe, but with 8 legs, not 4, each tipped with claws like thorns. Its skin shimmered, not fur, but scales, green-black, catching the light wrong. Like oil on water, a tangle of vines sprouted from its spine, curling like fingers, dotted with tiny buds that pulsed faintly. Its eyes, yellow, slitted sideways, fluttered, half open, pained. My training kicked in despite the shock. It was suffering, fever hot, its breaths shallow. I grabbed a thermometer, 104 degrees, and injected a fever reducer into one trembling leg. The rasping eased, vines drooping, and it stilled, but my hands shook, my mind screaming, unnatural creature. I'd seen sick wolves, broken horses, but this, no textbook had this. Alone with Boris, snoring and rain pounding, I couldn't call my boss, Eva. She'd be asleep, clueless anyway. I snapped a photo on my phone. The image sharp, undeniable, those vines twitching even in the still frame. Then it moved, slow, deliberate, rising on its legs, staring at me, its gaze heavy, like it knew me. The buds on its back bloomed, red petals unfolding, and a tendril stretched, brushing a scalpel to the floor with a clink that made me jump. The hog stirred again, grunting, but I was locked on the creature, its vines swaying now, reaching further, like they had minds of their own. I backed toward the lobby, needing my phone, needing someone, anyone, to tell me this was real. When I returned, the creature hadn't moved, but its vines were longer, curling toward the ceiling, petals pulsing like tiny hearts. I dialed Eva. No answer, just voicemail. The storm drowned my thoughts, rain a dull roar, and I stood there, phone limp, watching it breathe. Then Boris squealed, not a grunt, a full-on shriek, thrashing in his cage, eyes wild, stitches tearing. The creature hissed low and sharp, and leaped too fast, too graceful, onto a shelf, knocking nothing over, like it knew every inch. It clawed at an air vent, popped the grate, and vanished inside, vines trailing like a tail. Boris kept screaming, blood spotting his bandage, and I knelt to calm him, whispering, "Easy, big guy." My voice shaky. That's when the buzzer hit again, loud, insistent, cutting through the hog's cries. Glass shattered next, the front door's pane exploding inward, and heavy boots crunched over shards. I froze, Boris's panic drowning my own, and stood, leaving him to face whatever had come. 3 men loomed in the lobby, tall, broad, in patched coats and muddy boots, each gripping a rifle. Their faces were blank, eyes dull, mouths shut, like they weren't all there. They didn't speak, just pointed guns at me, one jerking his barrel toward the wall, pinning me there as the others stomped to the exam room. The unknown threat was here, and I was trapped. I worked nights at a vet clinic in Blackthorn, a speck of a town tucked into the hills of southern Slovakia, where farms outnumber people and the dark feels heavier than it should. Last spring, some Dutch hikers rolled in with a wolf pup, thinking it was a stray dog, half dead from a poacher's dart. They got it to our parking lot before it woke up, tore their rental car to shreds, and bolted into the woods. Animal control laughed it off. Our 6 cops barely patrol Main Street, let alone chase wolves. I've been a vet tech for 12 years, and that was the wildest call I ever made. joking with Officer Marek over beers later. But tonight's different. Tonight, I'll call again, and nobody's laughing. The clinic's quiet most nights. Just me, a flickering bulb, and the hum of the fridge holding vaccines. Farmers here know their herds. They don't drag sick cows down twisty roads after dusk. I handle charts, mop floors, check on overnight animals. Tonight, just a fat hog named Boris, recovering from a leg abscess, snoring under sedatives. A storm rolled in around 10 p.m., rain hammering the roof, thunder shaking the valley. I figured I'd coast through, maybe nap at the desk. Then the buzzer screamed, ripping me awake, and everything went wrong. A kid stood outside, soaked, red hair plastered to his face, clutching a dented fruit crate. His bike tipped against the door. He shoved the crate at me, voice cracking. "It's good, okay? Keep it safe. They're coming for it. Don't let them take it." Before I could blink, he pedaled into the rain, gone, leaving me with a night shift terror I couldn't shake. I was groggy, the kid's panic blurring in my head as I hauled the crate inside its weight, heavier than it looked. A wet, rasping sound came from within, like lungs struggling through mud. I set it on the exam table, expecting a hit-by-car cat or a mangy dog, Blackthorn's usual strays. I popped the lid, and my scream woke Boris, his piggy eyes blinking before he sank back into a drugged haze. What lay in the crate wasn't an animal, not one I'd studied, not one that belonged. It was cat-sized, maybe, but with 8 legs, not 4, each tipped with claws like thorns. Its skin shimmered, not fur, but scales, green-black, catching the light wrong. Like oil on water, a tangle of vines sprouted from its spine, curling like fingers, dotted with tiny buds that pulsed faintly. Its eyes, yellow, slitted sideways, fluttered, half open, pained. My training kicked in, despite the shock. It was suffering, fever hot, its breaths shallow. I grabbed a thermometer, 104 degrees, and injected a fever reducer into one trembling leg. The rasping eased, vines drooping, and it stilled, but my hands shook, my mind screaming, unnatural creature. I'd seen sick wolves, broken horses, but this, no textbook had this. Alone with Boris, snoring and rain pounding, I couldn't call my boss, Eva. She'd be asleep, clueless anyway. I snapped a photo on my phone. The image sharp, undeniable, those vines twitching even in the still frame. Then it moved, slow, deliberate, rising on its legs, staring at me, its gaze heavy, like it knew me. The buds on its back bloomed, red petals unfolding, and a tendril stretched, brushing a scalpel to the floor with a clink that made me jump. The hog stirred again, grunting, but I was locked on the creature, its vines swaying now, reaching further, like they had minds of their own. I backed toward the lobby, needing my phone, needing someone, anyone, to tell me this was real. When I returned, the creature hadn't moved, but its vines were longer, curling toward the ceiling, petals pulsing like tiny hearts. I dialed Eva. No answer, just voicemail. The storm drowned my thoughts, rain a dull roar, and I stood there, phone limp, watching it breathe. Then Boris squealed, not a grunt, a full-on shriek, thrashing in his cage, eyes wild, stitches tearing. The creature hissed low and sharp, and leaped too fast, too graceful, onto a shelf, knocking nothing over, like it knew every inch. It clawed at an air vent, popped the grate, and vanished inside, vines trailing like a tail. Boris kept screaming, blood spotting his bandage, and I knelt to calm him, whispering, "Easy, big guy." My voice shaky. That's when the buzzer hit again, loud, insistent, cutting through the hog's cries. Glass shattered next, the front door's pane exploding inward, and heavy boots crunched over shards. I froze, Boris's panic drowning my own, and stood, leaving him to face whatever had come. 3 men loomed in the lobby, tall, broad, in patched coats and muddy boots, each gripping a rifle. Their faces were blank, eyes dull, mouths shut, like they weren't all there. They didn't speak, just pointed guns at me, one jerking his barrel toward the wall, pinning me there as the others stomped to the exam room. The unknown threat was here, and I was trapped. I begged, "What do you want? I don't know anything." But the man guarding me stared through me, his rifle steady, his face a mask. In the exam room, Boris's squeals peaked, then stopped. A shotgun blast, loud and final, silencing him. My knees buckled, but I kept talking, promising to forget, to run, anything to live. The second man came back, holding my phone, the creature's photo glowing on the screen. He shoved it at me, mouth opening, no teeth, no tongue, just a raw, wet hole. He gestured wildly, gun waving, but said nothing, couldn't. I stammered about the kid, the crate, but they didn't hear, didn't care. Another shot rang out from the exam room, then a third, metal crashing, trays hitting the floor. The guard's eyes flicked sideways, his hands trembling, the first crack in his stone face. Something moved in the vent above, a rustle, soft but close. The men didn't notice, too focused on the exam room's silence. Then vines whipped from the hallway, fast, alive, green and slick, coiling around the guard's arms like ropes. He hit the floor hard, skull-cracking tile, blood pooling as more tendrils grabbed his legs, dragging him out of sight. His scream was low, gurgling, then gone, replaced by a wet slosh like meat spilling. The second man turned, rifle raised, but he was too slow. Vines lashed his chest, yanking him down the hall. I stood, rooted, hearing bones snap, a sound like tearing cloth, and read seeped across the floor, slow and thick, a rural nightmare unfolding in my clinic. I crept to the exam room, heart pounding, the air sour with copper and rot. Boris was dead, his cage twisted, half his body blasted apart, blood soaking the straw. The third man lay nearby, not shot, but shredded, arms gone, chest caved, vines still wrapped around what was left, pulsing like they drank him dry. The creature was gone. The exam window open, rain spitting in, curtains limp in the fading storm. I stumbled to the lobby, glass crunching underfoot, and saw the guard's rifle, abandoned, smeared red. The hallway was a slaughter, walls splattered, chunks of flesh scattered, no piece big enough to call human. The second man's head sat alone, eyes open, staring nowhere. I gagged, bile burning my throat, and grabbed my phone from the floor, the creature's photo still lit, its eyes seeming to follow me. I dialed Marek, voice shaking, and told him to bring everyone, Poprat, Banska, anyone with a badge. It's not an accident, I said. It's something else. The line crackled, and I hung up, sinking against the wall, rain mixing with blood on the floor. The creature was out there, loose, like that wolf pup, but worse, wrong in a way I couldn't name. The bloody aftermath was mine to explain, and I knew nobody'd believe me. Waiting for the cops, I checked the security footage, hoping for proof. But the tape was blank, just static where the kid should have been, like he'd never existed. The crate sat empty, vines snipped clean, scattered like they'd been cut to hide something. I thought of the kid's words. They're coming for it, and wondered who they were, if they'd sent those men, or if something else had. Blackthorn's hills hide things, old stories of lights in the woods, animals gone strange. But I had laughed them off until now. The clinic felt too big, too open, every shadow a threat. I locked the back door, useless as it was, and sat by Boris's cage, his blood sticky under my boots. Sirens wailed, faint, maybe 10 minutes out, but they wouldn't fix this. They'd see the bodies, the mess, and ask questions I couldn't answer. The creature's eyes stuck in my head, knowing, heavy, like it had marked me. I'd treated it, helped it, and now it was free. Its unnatural creature shape burned into me. If it came back, I wouldn't run. I'd seen what running got you. The storm died, leaving silence, but it wasn't empty. Something was still out there, waiting. Marek's cruiser pulled up, lights flashing, and I stood, legs numb, ready to face the questions, the doubt, the horror in their eyes when they saw the truth. This wasn't a job anymore. It was a warning, carved in blood and vine. If you've faced a night shift terror, seen an unnatural creature in a rural nightmare, or survived an unknown threat with a bloody aftermath, Send your story to duskynights45gmail.com. I post new tales every week from Monday to Friday. Subscribe if you're still breathing. Keeps me digging for these horrors if I make it through. Don't trust strange crates. Don't look too close. Some things don't belong in cages or anywhere else.